Most people only know Steven Seagal as a Hollywood action legend. But what about his daughter, Ayako Fujitani? Few know that she's not just Seagal's daughter. Her life is filled with secrets, shocking choices, and a career path that will completely surprise you. From hidden talents to private moments the public has never seen. In the next few minutes, we're uncovering the truth about Ayako's life, raw, real, and completely unexpected. You won't believe what she's done behind the scenes. Stay tuned. To understand the secret, you must first understand the cage. The world saw Ayako Fujitani as a porcelain doll, an accessory to a legacy built on broken bones and stoic glares. She was the daughter of the legend. Her life was a curated series of silent appearances, red carpets, charity dinners, movie premieres where she stood just to the left of her father, smiling a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. The pressure wasn't spoken. It was atmospheric. It was in the air. She breathed. The expectation was simple. Be graceful. Be beautiful. Be quiet. She was a testament to her father's softer side, a living piece of PR. But inside, this quiet life was a deafening roar of a... She was defined not by who she was, but by who she wasn't. She wasn't the action star. She wasn't the martial artist. She was just ... The media didn't ask her questions about her thoughts. They asked what he was like at home. Every flash of the camera felt like it was reinforcing the walls of this gilded cage. This life, so enviable to the outside world, felt hollow. It was a performance, but the role was empty. She wasn't living. She was being presented. And in the deep, quiet hours of the night, in a world that demanded she be delicate, Ayako was searching for something unmistakably, painfully real. She was searching for an escape, and she found it in the most unlikely of places. The public saw the poise. They saw the elegant dresses and the polite waves. They never saw the late nights. They never saw the small, hidden room in her LA apartment, a room that held her true self. While the world slept, Ayako wasn't studying scripts or reading poetry. She was studying tapes. Not her father's blockbuster movies, but grainy, fourth-generation VHS tapes of Joshi pure Japanese women's wrestling from the 1990s. She was mesmerized. This wasn't the slick, overproduced spectacle she saw on American TV. This was raw. It was violent, beautiful, and profoundly emotional. She watched women who were not defined by their beauty, but by their endurance. She saw storytelling told not with dialogue, but with a lariat. She saw characters built on pure, unadulterated willpower. The thud of a body hitting the canvas, the sharp crack of a kick, the visible exhaustion as two warriors leaned on each other. This was real. This was the antithesis of the Hollywood illusion she inhabited. Her father's world was about simulating conflict. This was about enduring it. This was the shocking choice that was forming in her mind. She didn't just want to watch this world. She wanted to feel it. She wanted to know if she, the porcelain doll, was capable of breaking. And more importantly, if she was capable of putting herself back together. The secret was no longer just an interest. It was becoming an obsession. The first step into her new life wasn't glamorous. It was a small, unmarked door in an industrial park, tucked away where the city forgot to look. It was a wrestling dojo, but it had no sign, no advertising. It was a place you only found if you knew. She walked in, not as Ayako Fujitani, daughter of a star, but as just ... Ayako. The smell hit her first. Old sweat, dust, and rust. It was the smell of hard work. In the center of the room was a worn, gray wrestling ring. The ropes were wrapped in frayed electrical tape. An old, grizzled trainer, a man who had wrestled in Japan decades ago, looked her up and down. He didn't see a celebrity's daughter. He saw fresh meat. He didn't ask for her name. He just pointed to the mat. Bumps, he grunted. For the next 3 hours, he taught her how to fall. Over and over. Back bumps. Front bumps. Her body, unaccustomed to such impact, screamed in protest. The sound of her back hitting the canvas echoed in the small room. It was brutal. It was unglamorous. And she loved it. Every single bruise was a badge. Every ache was a piece of reality she had earned. This was the first pain in her life that felt like hers, not the emotional pain inflicted by her father's shadow. She was being broken down, and for the first time, she felt like she was being built. She trained in secret for over a year. Her body changed. The soft edges were replaced by a quiet, wiry strength. But the biggest change was her identity. She couldn't be Ayako Fujitani in the ring. The media would devour her. It would become a circus, a gimmick. It would dishonor the very thing she had come to respect. She needed an armor. She needed a new face. She didn't choose a flashy name or a colorful costume. She chose the opposite. She chose silence. She found an old mask, a simple, haunting white mask reminiscent of Japanese theater. It was blank, serene, and cold. It covered her face completely, erasing Seagal's daughter entirely. When she put it on, she wasn't just hidden, she was transformed. She became Cage, the shadow. In the dojo, Cage was relentless. She didn't rely on brute strength. She used her father's unacknowledged gift, an innate understanding of leverage and timing. She blended the fluid, painful-looking strong style she had studied on tapes with the cold, efficient joint locks of Aikido. Her style was beautiful and vicious. The mask wasn't just a disguise. It was a permission slip. It allowed the quiet, respectful daughter to become the silent, dangerous warrior she felt she was inside. Cage was born, and Ayako finally had a face that felt like her own. The night of her debut was a blur of adrenaline and fear. It wasn't in a stadium. It was a high school gymnasium in a forgotten suburb. The crowd was maybe 70 people, sipping warm sodas and shouting at the cheap ring. The promoter, a man who had no idea who she was, had booked Cage as the opening act. A curiosity. Ayako stood behind the curtain, her heart hammering against her ribs so hard she thought it might break them. She could feel the smooth, cold porcelain of the Cage mask against her skin. It was her only anchor. Her music hit. It wasn't a powerful theme, just a low, ambient, unsettling drone. She pushed through the curtain. The crowd murmured. They saw the mask, the simple black gear. They saw a question. Her opponent was a local veteran, a woman twice her size who looked angry just to be there. The bell rang. And then the first contact. Her opponent grabbed her by the hair and threw her into the turnbuckle. The impact rattled her teeth. The commentary was just a fan in the front row yelling, "Hit her. Tracy!" It was 1,000 miles from the polite applause of Hollywood. For a moment, she froze. This was real. This wasn't training. And then, something clicked. The fear turned into focus. Cage took over. The crowd expected a quick, sloppy match. They did not expect what happened next. Ayako Kage moved differently. She didn't brawl. She dissected. She slipped out of a headlock and caught her opponent's arm. The crowd watched in stunned silence as Cage transitioned, fluidly, from one joint lock to another. It was a ballet of painful-looking submissions. The veteran, trapped and confused by this strange, silent figure, had no choice but to tap out. The match lasted only 3 minutes. There was no cheer. Just a strange, respectful quiet. Ayako's hand was raised. She stood in the center of the ring, her chest heaving, her body already aching. She had done it. She wasn't Seagal's daughter. She wasn't a porcelain doll. She was a wrestler! Backstage, she collapsed against a locker, pulling the mask off. Her face was drenched in sweat, a small cut on her lip. She had never felt more alive. The shocking truth was now written on her body in bruises. But this was only the beginning. The shadows of the backstage world were far more complicated than the spotlight of the ring, and her performance had just put a target on her back. 4 months. Cage became an underground legend. She moved from show to show, a silent phantom who appeared, won, and vanished. The whispers grew. Who was this woman? Her skill was too polished for the independent scene. The other wrestlers kept their distance, a mix of respect and suspicion. Ayako managed her double life with perfect precision. By day, she was the dutiful daughter. By night, She was the enigma of the ring. She thought she had it under control. She thought her secret was safe. She was wrong. It happened on a rainy Tuesday night at a show above a bowling alley. The match was grueling. She was exhausted, her arm throbbing from a badly timed spot. She didn't wait to shower. She just wanted to go home. She slipped out the back exit into the dark parking lot, rain plastering her hair to her face. Believing she was alone, she leaned against her car, took a deep breath, and pulled off the cage mask. And for just 2 seconds, under the sickly yellow glow of a single parking lot light, she was Ayako Fujitani. She didn't see the fan filming from his car across the lot, a fan who had been trying to unmask Cage for weeks. He pressed stop. He looked at the footage. He zoomed in. His eyes went wide. He knew that face. And he uploaded it. The title of the video was simple. Holiest asterisk, 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 is Kage, Steven Seagal's daughter. The internet exploded. It wasn't a slow burn. It was a detonation. By morning, the grainy 2-second clip was everywhere. TMZ, Entertainment Tonight. Every major wrestling blog, the shocking truth was out, and it was brutal. The narrative was chaotic. Some were amazed. Most were mocking. From Hollywood royalty to ring rat. One headline screamed, Seagal's daughter's pathetic secret career. Read another. The media chaos was a whirlwind. Paparazzi, who had never cared about her before, were now camped outside her apartment. They weren't just curious, they were hungry. They saw a freak show. They saw a story of a privileged girl slumming it. The wrestling world she loved turned on her. Fans accused her of being a tourist, of using her family name to play at their sport. The other wrestlers, who had been suspicious, now felt betrayed. They saw her not as Cage, but as a rich kid in a mask. Her two worlds hadn't just collided. They had annihilated each other. The Cage she had tried to escape was now replaced by a public pillory, and the one person she hadn't heard from was her father. The call came 3 days into the media firestorm. Her phone, which had been a symphony of vibrating, angry notifications, went silent. A single name glowed on the screen. Father. Her hand trembled as she answered. There was no greeting, just ... silence. A long, heavy, static-filled silence that stretched for what felt like an eternity. This was his way, the disappointed quiet. Ayako could picture him perfectly, sitting in his study, the man who had built an empire on the idea of control, now faced with the one thing he couldn't. Finally, his voice came, low and gravelly. Why? It was just one word, but it held the weight of his entire legacy. Why? ... This circus. This fake, foolish spectacle. Is this what you do? Pretend to fight in front of children. He didn't understand. To him, his world of real martial arts, of deadly serious combat, was pure. What she was doing was a parody of it. It was, in his eyes, a profound embarrassment. Ayako stood by her window, looking at the circus of vans parked on her street. She took a breath. It's the only real thing I've ever had, she said, her voice shaking but firm. It's the only place where your name didn't matter. Until now. The silence returned, heavier this time. You are a Fujitani, he said. You are a Seagal. Act like it! The line went dead. She felt utterly broken. She had lost her secret. She had alienated her family. She had been rejected by the one community that felt like home. She was, once again, just Seagal's daughter. A failed experiment. The cage mask sat on her table, feeling like a Halloween costume. The story was over. But then, an hour later, the phone rang again. An unknown number. She answered, expecting another reporter. It wasn't. It was a man with a sharp, professional voice. He was a booker, a high-level executive from one of the largest, most prestigious wrestling promotions in Japan. Ayako-san, he said, respectfully. We have been watching Cage for some time. Her work is excellent. We were unaware of the connection, but it changes nothing. We would like to offer you a contract. A real one. Ayako was stunned. But how did you? The man paused. Your father's office contacted us this morning, he said. He sent us your full, unedited map. He said, ... She is better than I was. Do not treat her like a celebrity. Treat her like a fighter. We agree. And there it was. The final, shocking twist. Her father hadn't been ashamed. He had been ... proud. But he didn't know how to say it. His world didn't have the words for it. So he spoke, in the only language he knew, action. He didn't use his power to shut her down. He used it to lift her up, to put her on the stage she deserved. The secret wasn't a rebellion against him. It was a strange, painful, and beautiful way of connecting to him. Her secret life wasn't over. It was just beginning. She wasn't a Hollywood secret anymore. She was a professional.